Hey guys, it's Miss DeLitter. Let's go ahead and take a look at solving equations with variables on both sides. So the ultimate goal when we're solving these types of equations is to find the value for the variable that makes the equation true. So ultimately what we want to do is we want to get our variable. In these situations, we want to get x on one side of the equation and all of the constants or the numbers without the variables on the other side of the equation to find what x is equal to. So there's a few different steps and processes that we can go through to solve these equations, and we'll go through a few of them. So for example 1, we have 2 times the quantity of 2 plus x is equal to 6x plus 8. So one common step that many of us might take to start is we may start by using the distributive property to simplify the left side of that equation. So we have 2 times 2, which is 4. And we have 2 times x, which is 2x. So we have 4 plus 2x is the simplified version of the left side, and we know that's still equal to 6x plus 8. So now that we've simplified that and eliminated any parentheses there, we can go through and now we can start that process of getting all of our x's on one side of the equation and all of our constants on the other side. So I'm going to start by moving my 2x away from this side of the equation. I'm just going to subtract 2x from this side. And again, in order to keep our equation balanced, we want to do the exact same thing to the other side of the equation and subtract 2x on the right side of the equation as well. And the new equation that I'm left with is 4 on the left side, which is equal to 4x plus 8. So now that I've isolated the variable to one side, to the right side of the equation, now I want to get all of the constants or the numbers without the variable on the other side or on the left side. So I'm going to need to move 8 away from this side of the equation and get it over here. So I'm going to undo adding 8 by subtracting 8 from this side. And to keep the equation balanced, I'll do the exact same thing on the other side of the equation. My new equation is negative 4 is equal to 4x. To find the value of x now, we want to undo multiplying x by 4, and we'll undo that by dividing by 4. This means to divide. And to keep our equation balanced, we'll do the exact same thing to the other side. And we end up with negative 1 is equal to x. So we can always go back and we can check to make sure our answer is correct by substituting this value, negative 1, in for x in our original equation. So this would really mean, we'll do this over here, that 2 times 2 plus negative 1 is equal to 6 times negative 1 plus 8. And this would be 2 times 1 is equal to negative 6 plus 8, and we do in fact see that 2 is equal to 2. So because x is equal to negative 1 does make this equation true, 2 is true, 2 is equal to 2, that is true, we know that this is the correct solution for the equation. So let's go ahead and look at example number 2. We have 3x plus 30 divided by 3 is equal to 2x. So in the first equation, we went through and we simplified to begin. And in this case, I'm going to work on clearing this equation. I'm going to do that so I can see that this left side of my equation is being divided by 3. And I can clear that division by thinking about what's going to undo dividing that side by 3. And that would be me taking this side and multiplying it by 3. And again, to keep that equation balanced, we would do the same thing on the other side. We would multiply this side of the equation by 3. So multiplying by 3 here, that would undo this. So I'd be left with 3x plus 30 on the left side of my equation. And 2x times 3 is 6x. So we still have an equivalent equation here. We've just cleared that dividing by 3. And now we can begin that process of isolating our variable to one side and our constants to the other. Since there are no constants on the right side of my equation here, I'm going to choose to move my 3x. I'm going to subtract 3x from this side And I'll do the same thing on the other side of the equation to keep that balanced. And my new equation would be 30 is equal to 3x. So now we know what 3 times x is equal to, and again, our ultimate goal is to find what the value of just x is. So to undo multiplying x by 3, we'll divide by 3, and we'll do that on both sides to keep that equation balanced, and we end up with 10 is equal to x. And again, we can substitute that value of x into our original equation to check to make sure it's true. So 3 times 10 is 30, plus 30 is 60, and 60 divided by 3 would give us our 20, and then 2 times 10 is 20, and because now we have an equation that says 20 equals 20, we know our value of x is good. So let's take a look at one more example here. So we have x minus 4 is equal to 1/3 times the quantity of 6x minus 54. So in this case, again, we can go through a few different steps. So we can either simplify that right side of the equation and we can distribute, or we can clear the multiplication here by dividing by 1/3 on both sides. So in this case, I think it's going to be a little easier for us to just go ahead and simplify. So I'm going to use that distributive property to rewrite my equation. So we have x minus 4 on the left side, and that is equal to 1/3 of 6x, which is 2x, and then 1/3 of negative 54, which is negative 18. So now I can again begin that process of going through and simplifying and moving my variables to one side and my constants to the other side. So we really can go in any order that we want to. So I'm going to kind of throw a curveball at you here, and I'm going to move my constants to one side first. So I'm going to start by adding 4 to both sides of my equation here. So that's getting rid of taking 4 away on this side, so I'm left with x is equal to 2x minus 14, because negative 18 plus 4 is negative 14. And now what I'm going to do is I need to get my x's on the same side of the equation. And so since there's already just an x over here, I'm going to move this value to the other side. And we'll do that by subtracting 2x on both sides of our equation. And really this is like saying 1x. So now I have negative 1x is equal to negative 14. So again, now we know that negative x is equal to negative 14, but we still want to know what the value of x is going to be. So we can think of this in 2 different ways. We can think, let's divide both sides by negative 1 to undo multiplying by negative 1, and we end up with x is equal to 14. Or we can think about, this really means the opposite of x is equal to the opposite of 14, so x would have to be equal to 14. And again, we can of course go through and substitute this value back into our original equation to check to make sure it makes the equation true. So just to recap again, the goals of solving these types of equations is to find the value of the variable that makes the equation true. And we're going to use steps that help us isolate all of the variables to one side of the equation and isolate the constants to the other side of the equation. So good luck, and I'll see you guys in class.